Welcome back. So, in this lecture, we are going to quickly look at what is stereoscopy and why it is important, and we will also look at the type of cameras which are used in collecting the stereo photographs, and as well as about one or two cameras which are been used and how actually the data has been collected through the satellite. So, stereoscopy, as I have mentioned a bit in the previous lecture, that this helps us in getting the 3D perspective view of the terrain. So, let us look at that what exactly is the stereoscopy. The stereo word originates from Greek and means relative to space actually. Okay. So, earlier usually we were using this word, and this is commonly used as for the stereo sound and all that earlier. So, we when we talk about the stereo, we usually refer to stereophonic sound. So, originally the term was associated with stereoscopic pictures, okay, which were either drawn or photographed. So, in order to avoid the confusion with the stereophonic sound, we often talks about the 3D picture. So, instead of calling the 3D picture as and having the confusion between the stereophonic and stereoscopic pictures, it is usually we started using the 3D pictures. Okay. And in like last one decade or maybe more than that, there were television screens which used to come when we say that okay, we can view the picture in 3D films actually mainly. So, we used to have the goggles of the different color eyepiece, and then that can be used to have the 3D films to be viewed in. So, that basically this is the word which is using we are using the stereoscopy as it stands for 3 dimension. So, further if we look at the more details about that, so basically what we are doing is that we are viewing the image, okay, on the photograph, which are taken before and by forward and after cameras by either by the satellite, or even if you try to look at like using the UAVs, that also shows. So, this is for example, this is your right eye and this is left eye. So, what you are viewing is that this object here, which are taken by either by the same camera, but at a different angle covering the similar area. And as we have discussed in the last lecture, that while if you are having the flight, okay, then you have like 60% of overlap over here. Okay. So, this should be your 60% of overlap. So, that will give you an advantage to view the terrain in 3 dimension. Okay. So, what we are doing that we are not viewing the so if with the right eye you view the right image, and with the left eye you view the left image. Okay. Then and then what you will see is that you will be getting the pseudo stereoscopic model in your brain, and that will give you an idea. So, a pair of stereoscopic photographs or images can be viewed stereoscopically by looking at the left image with the left eye and the right image with the right eye. And this you can do by using the stereoscope also, or you can use the what we can say the different color glasses. So, that will help you in viewing this. Okay. So, this is what we call the stereoscopy. So, the eye base so this is your eye base actually. Okay. So, this will be your eye base. So, eye base and the photo base must be parallel in order to view the stereoscopic model. So, that should be there. So, that one can do. Even so, as I told that you can use the stereoscope, that I am going to come to the next slide in that, or you can also use your normal eyes to view this, okay. But that need practice. Okay. So, basically what we are doing is that the lens of the human eyes project two slightly different picture onto the retinas, which are then transformed by the brain in a conceptual representation. And this actually is what we are talking about, the getting in stereoscopic image. Okay. So, the actual stereographic conceptual observation is a result of this perception through both the eyes. So, you need to have, if you just close down your one eye and then try to see the right image, and then the same you can do for the left, and then open both, you will be able to see the 3D using stereoscope. Okay. So, for example, this is an if you have an practice, and if you have good practice in viewing this, you can view this image again in 3 dimension. Okay. But at least you need like 2 photographs of the same object taken at different angle. So, for example, this is the terrain, again this is your low angle low oblique aerial photograph, and this is again the same, okay, but capturing the same area. Okay. So, if you have an overlap here, and this is mostly almost major overlap we can see, because you have this portion which has been seen here, and this hill is seen over here. Okay. So, this I am having more than 70 to 80% overlap, but this was been taken using with the digital camera and through the aircraft. But that this can again help, because both the photographs have been taken by the same camera, but at a different angle, that is your view angle what we are talking about. So, that can give you again the 3-dimensional view of the terrain. Now, the advantages of stereoscopy, if you take, has an ability to extract 3-dimension information, example classification between the elevation difference, tall trees or low trees, you are having terrestrial features such as height of the terraces. These are all fluvial landforms, which we are going to talk in next lectures. Okay. Coming lectures with what are the different landforms and all that. Okay. So, you will be able, and even you can have talk about the slope gradient, you can extract the slope gradient if you are having, but with the help of the stereo photos, you will have to generate plus the DEM, or you can say DSM, that is digital elevation model and digital surface model, and this will help you in generating or extracting, I would say, extraction of topographic information, as well as you can do a mapping of landforms with different elevation. See, this you can do very easily if you are having the mainly the stereo, or you can say the 3D image. And as I told that this is all going to be now in digital platform. So, you can extract this even DM in digital form. Okay. Then, as I told that along with the landforms here, this is again related to the river landforms. You can prepare a detailed geomorphic map. So, extraction of topographic information, mapping of landforms, this will be like what you are going to talk about, the mapping of the morphology of the surface and that what we call geomorphology. You can also, if you have the almost like vertical photographs, you can map the strike and depth of the strata is also exposed in on surface. Now, type of stereoscopes, if you take this is there it is this one is pocket stereoscope, usually what we call, and the pocket stereoscope will have just two lenses. Okay, that so you can adjust this. These are adjustable, and this is, and you can fix this. Adjustment can be like you can move out and in. There is depending on the your eye base. So, depending on the eye base you can do that, and then you can put the photographs here. So, one photograph has been kept here, another has been kept here, and we can view the 3D in this. Okay. So, this is one, that is what we call pocket stereoscope. So, what we have here is this is the plano-convex lenses. Okay. So, these are all the lenses what we are having is the plano-convex lenses mounted. So, it is very like commonly used pocket stereoscope. So, usually if you are having the stereo photographs, you can carry it in the field and then try to view the terrain in 3 dimension. And then we have another one is the mirror stereoscope. Okay. So, what it has is here is that you have the two fixed mirrors. So, on this side these are having the mirrors actually here. So, you have the two mirrors here, one is this one and this another one. So, it consists of two mirrors fixed at an angle of 45 degrees. Okay. So, this is the angle what we are having is 45 degree. Okay. So, this is another mirror here, and that, and those are supported by the 4 legs, and at the eyepiece 2 prism. Okay. So, over here in this 2 prism or small mirrors are fixed at an angle again at 45 degrees. Okay. So, the advantage is that one can view the terrain or the photo in the wider perspective. So, mainly you can have more area, you can view more area when you are using the mirror stereoscope. You can also change like the eyepiece resolution, and you can have like 2x or 3x something like that. Okay. So, you can have, so that will help you in magnification. Okay. That can help you in magnifying or magnifying the area of interest. Okay. That you can do. Even this what you have, you can see here the calibrating rod has been shown here. So, this is also been used to do appropriate measurements in terms of the distance, in terms of calculating the height of the object, and all that can be done. Okay. So, this is an advantage of having the mirror stereoscope. Okay. And also the last point which has been shown here, this one, that you can, what you can do is you can put the tracing sheet on one of the photograph and then trace your features. Okay. Very easily. So, you can side by side manually you can prepare your maps depending on what information you want to extract out of this. So, this is the difference between the pocket and mirror stereoscope. Now, procedure for aerial photograph interpretation is the most important is that you need to have the overlapping aerial photograph, and unless and until you are not having this, you will not be able to view the 3D, and then to identify or locate the principal point, okay, on each photograph, okay, and draw the straight line passing through each of the principal points. Okay. So, if you have, for example, you have one photograph here, okay, and this we have discussed in the previous one also. I will just try to explain quickly. So, if suppose you are having one photograph and then followed by another one, and of course, you have like what we were talking about, that you are having like 60% of overlap over here. Okay. This is one very important point, and this goes over here. Okay. But other part was that we were talking about in the previous lecture about the fiducial mark, fiducial axis and all that. So, if you draw the fiducial axis y and x here, okay, you get a point here. This is your principal point. So, this is, say this is your photograph P1 or any number you can give. Okay. So, for example, like A1 we am giving here, and this is A2 here. Okay. So, this will be your principal point 1, and this will be your principal point 2. Okay. So, when you connect this, actually then that will give you the line of flight. Okay. And also the place the photograph on the desk. This is we have talked about this, but the other point which is left out is place the photograph on the desk, one overlapping the other with about 2 inch between the corresponding image, using a straight edge or the scale adjust the center line to common line. This is because if you adjust this properly, these 2 points and all that, so that will help you in getting the 3D. Suppose your line of flight is coming something like this. Okay. Then in that direction you will have to adjust your photographs. Okay. But in this case, since it is all both the points are in the center, so this will be your line of flight here. Okay. So, for 3D also, otherwise if it is slightly like tilted, then maybe you will have to put your photograph something like this. Okay, both the photographs, and then you have to view the photographs. Okay. So, this can be done easily when you are using the stereoscope. Okay. But as I told that nowadays we have an advantage of putting everything on digital platform and can be used. Okay. So, if stereoscope vision is not obtained, slowly slide one of the photograph and try to orient it, at least align the established line, that is your line of flight. Okay. So, that alignment is very much important. Okay. Otherwise, you will not be able to see the 3D image. Okay. And one can also try to align the object. Okay. So, you can fix up one of the try to focus on one of the object and try to match that object in other photographs also. That can be easily done. Okay. Now, coming to the principal point which I have explained over there. Okay. So, you have x and y axis, and if you connect the fiducial marks, that will give you the intersection, will give you the point, and that point is your fiducial mark. So, sorry, is your principal point. Okay. So, for this you have the principal point is this one for this image, and this image the principal point is this one. Okay. Now, sometime it has also been felt that you need to have the conjugate points to have a better alignment and understanding, or you can say that identifying the line of flight. Okay. So, for example, for image 1, this is your principal point. For image 2, this is your principal point. Okay. And then when you you can do one thing, you can trace out this point here, and then with the maybe at the same time what you can do is you can just mark one of the object here or the landform, and with the same you can you can move your sheet or tracing sheet on the other image, and then you will see that the principal point of the second photograph will not match the principal point of the first photograph. Okay. Because there is a difference while taking the the photograph. Okay, they are taken by at a different time and different angle. Okay, but viewing the similar area, or the, I would say, the same area. So that when you do that, so this point may lie somewhere over here, and that will be your conjugate point. Okay, so that this is the conjugate point. Similarly, you can do it for the other photograph also. So this is the conjugate point of the photograph 2, which has been transferred to your first photograph, and similarly the conjugate principal point is transferred to the next photograph, will be your conjugate point. So this is your conjugate point of the first photograph, which has been transferred here, and this is the conjugate point of second photograph, which is transferred here, and this is PP2, this principal point here, and this one is PP1. Okay. So that how you can do, and this helps in identifying. So when you connect this, this will help you in identifying the line of light. Okay, and that what I was talking about. So if you have put the photograph straight and you are trying to view like this, you will not be able to view the 3D. Okay. So unless and until you have not oriented your photograph to this. Okay. So line of light will help you at least in understanding that what is the sequence in which your photographs have been taken by the flying object. Okay. This is one exercise which you can do, and holding your like two fingers and bringing close to them towards each other, and at one point of time without touching the finger. Okay, you will find that there is an image which has been formed in the center, and that is floating, and that is your what you are looking at, the three-dimensional image. Okay, so this you can practice. Okay, so what you can this is what has been shown here. So you start bringing your fingers towards each other, and the time will come that you will find that this portion of the finger is floating in the center, and you haven't touched both the fingers. Okay, so this is what the exercise helps you in practicing for the 3D image, or you can view the stereo pair and try to see the 3D perspective of the image. Okay. Now coming to other part is that camera films what we are having. So usually those who are aware about the cameras, so we have lens, shutter and aperture. Okay. So lens can be characterized by focal length, and that what we can easily find out with the what type of lens and what and shutter speed and aperture and all that. But the other point which I am trying to explain you that there are cameras, and that is what we call frame cameras, which will collect the data like in like portion wise. Okay, it will not be continuous data here. So it will keep on clicking the different images in particular frame. Okay. Then you have another what we call the continuous strip cameras. Okay. So this was frame cameras. So you have one frame here, second here, 3 here, like that. Okay. But this one is continuous. Okay. So continuous strip will keep on recording your data. Okay. And then you are having panoramic. Okay. So panoramic will definitely what we were discussing, but will have distortion in so the data which will be collected will be something like over here. So you will keep having the strips going on in this direction. Okay. But so I'll try to put it little better in a better way. So you are having the film here, and this is the area which has been, and then second one will come somewhere over here like this. But this so this will be basically collected in strips again, but in taking the panoramic view of the region. Okay. And another one is mostly used for that what we were talking about, the stereo photos. So this is what you have the forward camera and you are having the after camera. So, forward camera is taking the photograph of this area. Okay. So, you have the photograph of this area, whereas the, so it has been taken by this one forward, and after you are taking this one. Okay. So, this is basically the camera used to collect the corona photographs, which I was talking. Okay. So, as you move further, keep moving further, then you keep on taking the photographs of the same area which has been taken by forward, and then here what has been taken. So, already this area was been taken by the forward image, and then it was taken by the after image. Okay. So, if you the fly keep the satellite keep on flying like this, and you keep collecting the data over here. Okay. So, this is the part of the corona photograph. Now, corona photograph resolution is it like the data comes in something like this. Okay. So, you are having the strips here collected by the forward and after camera, and they come in negative, and you can have the you can enlarge it and print it. Okay. So, what we do is that after knowing the line of flight and all that, so at least what we do. So, in previous one it has been, if I am not wrong, it is right now, yeah, it has been shown here. So, this is your nadir point here. Okay. So, you have along away from the nadir will be some distortion. Okay. So, for example, this is the nadir here and this one is nadir. So, this will perfectly will be almost vertical here. Okay. So, what we do is that to have at least the 3D image. So, we try to develop the photograph covering the same area, and we obtain the paper print. Okay. And that can be viewed in your like hard copies. You can use that. Okay. So, you will have again that you can do. Okay, with it. So, the area the size of the negatives are 5.5 centimeter to 75 centimeters. So, this is 5.5, and this one covers your almost like 75 centimeter you have. Okay. And the area covered along the width, okay, that is along the width is around 17 kilometer by and total if you say, then that is around 230 kilometers of the area has been covered here. Okay. Then this is what we are having, the corona image which is developed, okay, from the negative. So, you can have very high resolution image of this. Okay. And this is what we have mosaicked number of images and to view the terrain and overall. See, this is what we are looking is a 2D, actually 2D image, but if you have the similar like after and forward photographs of the same area, you can view this in 3 dimension also. So, this is what one can use. Okay, this is we can. So, the distance here, if I am not wrong, is this has been enlarged photograph, but the distance between if you have to quickly view this. So, distance between this two like points. So, for example, if I take same points, then that should be around 6 inches or so. So, that can be done. So, those who are having in good practice of viewing the 3D image or viewing the stereo images with naked eye, then this distance is fine. Okay. So, then one can view this in 3 dimension, okay, easily, or even you can use the stereoscope, pocket stereoscope, and try to view this in 3 dimensions. For publications also we try to use this. So, once this image you see in 3 dimension, then you will be able to map this very easily, okay, either on the digital platform or you can use it by using the tracing sheets and all that. Okay. So, this is the stereo pair of corona photograph. Now, the data which we are using now, okay, and which is very much I would say that it is robust and in terms of the data quality and very high resolution and available. So, the on digital platform. Okay. So, this of course, what you are able to see is slightly reddish color also in this. This is exactly what we have prepared is anaglyph. Okay. We will come to this, and there is one lab which we have planned and which we will share the data with you, and we will ask you to do that if you are having those softwares, but at least you will be able to learn that how we are generating this. Now, simply in this image you can use the filter glasses, and that can help you in generating the like 3D on your screen. Okay. So, Corona this is the previous one was a Corona, and this is Cartoset 1. You can buy this from NRSC Hyderabad. So, per scene it varies from after and the after and forward and after image. The area which has been covered in one scene is around 26 to 30 square kilometers. Resolution is around 2.5 meters. It comes with the stereo vision capability, and the photographs which are available are ortho rectified. So, these are all advantages what we are having with the Cartoset data. Okay. And mostly we will use Cartoset data, as well as we will show you some data which is collected by the UAVs. Okay. So, with this I end here, and see you in next lecture, where we will talk about the relief displacement and how we can calculate the height if we are having from the single photograph, and we are having the principal point and all that. So, we will talk in the next lecture. Okay. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much.